Falls Township, Pennsylvania. It's late on the night of the 1st of July, 2021.
That night, the dispatcher comes out for the unresponsive female. I was at headquarters with Alex Sansone.
The dispatcher tells us that the caller's screaming into the phone, saying to save her.
We entered the room, and we found a female on the floor, unresponsive.
She's almost completely naked except for her bra that's pushed up. There's a male in the room that's screaming and kind of running around back and forth. He was told several times to leave the room, and he wouldn't. So at this point, I call for additional police officers to come and help us control him and control this scene.
I was trying to figure out what's going on, trying to get him to talk to me, and I was trying to get him away from the room. He was saying things along the lines of, like, things got out of control tonight, you gotta save her.
The victim is 39-year-old Jamie Bagley, a Falls Township mother.
She lived in our township. She'd been here the whole time that I've worked here. I've had multiple interactions with her in the past. So when we got on scene, we immediately knew who she was.
She was a great person, you know, a great mother. She was a single mother. So, you know, raised me and my 4 other brothers, and stayed in a little trailer, all of us.
My sister was like my main babysitter growing up. I was always with her. She never minded me tagging along. All of her friends loved me being around.
She was just like an awesome person. She always helps somebody else before she could help herself. That was like her main thing in life.
A truly good-hearted person who was just trying to provide for her family and her children.
While the CPR on the victim continues, the officers start to look at the scene in a bit more detail.
There were items thrown all over the place. The bed was a big mess. There was a pool of blood on the bed.
There was blood coming from her mouth, from her ears. There was discharge coming from her nose or blood from her nose. There was issues with her pupils or her eyes that didn't seem consistent to the many medical emergencies or cardiac arrests that I've dealt with before.
He had cuts on his neck. He looked like he had been in a fight, for sure.
He starts grabbing items throughout the room and eventually is grabbing a female's purse.
So at this point, I was able to get the male downstairs, and he kept trying to keep me from getting the purse. So eventually I was able to rip the purse from him, at which point he then ran over and he hopped in a car.
This gets radioed to all the other officers, and another police officer, Brian Dietrich, is coming down the road and actually sees the vehicle.
And I said, I see him. He was flying through the parking lot. He stepped on it and tried to go. Oh, he knows I'm behind him. He's fishtailing all over the road. It was just definitely hazardous conditions out there. So at that point, I terminated the pursuit.
Enough had transpired at the scene from what the initial responding officer saw that a detective was required to come out for this. When I arrived on scene, a lot of patrol cars, officers around, and it was still, even at this time, I think it was just a big question mark for everybody.
At the motel, we're still piecing things together. I'm assisting the medical team, the EMS, the paramedics with bringing this female back to life.
They kind of got her in the squad, and they took her as quickly as possible to the local hospital.
At home, oblivious to what had happened, Jamie's kids were wondering where she was.
My family comes in at like 8 in the morning, telling me she's in the hospital and she's in a very bad condition.
One turbulent aspect to Jamie's life was her domestic situation.
The man is well known to Falls Township Police. His name is Evan Smith.
When I heard the name Evan Smith, I immediately knew who we were dealing with.
If you go into our record system, put in either their names, you have a list this long of contacts we've had with the 2 of them.
Violence and domestic issues between him and Jamie.
I was at home. I got a call from Detective Dennis O'Connell from Falls. He informed me that there was a significant assault that occurred in the motel, and the on-call Bucks County detectives were called in as well.
So that night, Falls Township Police Department needed our assistance with an investigation.
We both found it would be beneficial for us to go to Jefferson Bucks Hospital ICU and meet with the attending staff and physician there to get an update. Ms. Bagley was pretty much lying unconscious and being kept alive by machines.
We wanted to prioritize the safety of different people. So the first one we prioritized was, hey, where would Evan go? And we had Matt Shannon go to the family home down on Hunter Drive.
I see a black Nissan
sitting there. Eventually, after a few minutes, I see the car leave and I see that it is Evan in the same vehicle that he left the New Falls Motel. At Tyburn Road and Route 13, it's a very open area. There's 2 lanes of travel in each way, and there's no houses in that general area. I put my lights on, he pulls over, and he gets out of the car with his hands up and he starts walking back towards us.
What do you mean? Yo, listen to me. I need to know if my girl's okay. I need to know she's okay.
At the police station, Dennis O'Connell now came face to face with Evan Smith.
Just looking at his shoulders, his chest, his face, he looked like he had kind of gone through a meat shredder. It was astonishing how cut up he was.
On the night of the assault, police had locked down the scene and conducted a comprehensive forensic search.
There was an indicia of ownership, meaning there was identity cards and personal belongings that were in the name of Evan and Jamie. There were 3 cell phones that were recovered, and there was also bedding material that was recovered because it had blood stains or suspected blood stains on them.
Police discover a shocking but potentially crucial piece of evidence from the phone downloads.
Jamie, what the is a person supposed to do? Now, that's not what I want to do. It's not how I want. That's not how I feel. I'm upset.
It seemed to be that she was operating 2 cell phones. She was on a voice call with Evan on one phone and videotaping with the other phone, and this was a couple days just before the incident.
I mean,
It's the choice I have. Either stay with you and worry about getting killed every other day.
No. Had we, no, Jamie, this is deep, okay?
Tell me about it, Evan. I'm the one that's being abused.
She met Evan through mutual friends. Their relationship was probably close to 20 years. He had a lot of drug charges, a lot of burglary charges.
Like, so my stepdad, I looked at him like my own dad. Like, I looked up to him a lot when I was a kid. So I got old enough to realize, like, what kind of person he was.
The family appeared content and stable as long as Evan was locked up. Each time Evan was released from prison, his presence would cause problems for the family.
But my sister loved him, and he always seemed to just wiggle his way back in and win her over again, always.
6 months prior to the assault at the motel, a serious incident at the trailer park led to Jamie kicking Evan out of a home.
My mom had a big knot on her head, black eye, both black eyes, scratches on her face, and I'm 13 at the time. I wanted to intervene, but I knew my dad was on something.
Her way of fixing it was, let's put him up in a motel. That way, she's not leaving him out on the streets, but then she's also keeping her kids separate.
But in April of 2021, police were called to the trailer park. Evan had returned.
He came after her and she had to jump out the trailer window to avoid getting attacked by him, and then he ran off. As we're there, he sneaks in the back door of the trailer and he lit a pizza box on fire in the trailer in an attempt to burn the trailer down.
Despite all of this, Jamie continued to meet Evan at the motel. Back at the police station, detectives were finally making progress in the interrogation of Evan Smith.
We were fighting and having rough sex at the same time, okay? And I choked her too much this time.
He was actually placed into the cell block at that point.
The 4th of July, 2021, and I got a call that Ms. Bagley had passed.
That's when we filed official charges of homicide.
The autopsy evidence was central to the prosecution's case.
Dr. Ian Hood did the autopsy. He noted that her hyoid bone, which is in your neck, it's a very pliable bone, was broken. And that takes significant force to do. It's not an easy thing to break, according to Dr. Hood. He also noticed deep tissue bruising. Her neck was bruised all the way down throughout all of her soft tissue on her neck.
Another crucial piece of evidence came from one of Evan Smith's fellow prisoners.
One of the other inmates actually came forward and gave an account that Evan Smith had told him about what happened that night. He said that he found dating websites on her phone, and he confronted her about being unfaithful. He was angry at her. They had a fight the night before the murder in the motel, and he told her, if you come back here, I'm gonna kill you. And then he tells the inmate, and then she came back.
So finally the day came, he was found guilty of third-degree murder.
The judge handed down that Evan spend the next 23 and a half to 47 years in a Pennsylvania state correctional institution.
But there was to be one final twist to the tragic story.
2 years later, 4th of July, he killed himself in prison on the date of her death.
She's somebody who should still be here with us today.